I want to talk about how to determine if an order is safe. So let's solve using this example here. We have a order of amoxicillin oral suspension of 100 milligrams by mouth every 8 hours for a child who weighs 39 pounds. We have a supply that's given to us, and on the supply it has a recommendation. And if you go here and read on it, we're going to see that children, and we are dealing with a child, is recommended 20 milligrams to 40 milligrams per kilogram per day in divided doses every 8 hours. All right. So for determining if this order is safe, we need to determine the milligrams per dose. All right. And if it's divided every 8 hours. And guys, I want to take just a minute. The order here is every 8 hours. That's good. If the order says every 6 hours, we're going to read on here. That means it should have multiple choices, and we'll pick the same one. If this had every 8 hours and every 6 hours, then we're going to make sure it matches the order. Okay. We're going to pick the one that does when we decide that. But anyways, let's get back to this. This one actually says every 8 hours. So over here on the side, I know that in 24 hours, I'm going to divide it by that every 8 hours. Every 8 hours, they're going to take one dose. So what happens? I'm able to reduce the hours, right? 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3 doses. So in one day, they're going to take a total of 3 doses. So we need to know that. Now let's come over here and let's factor in, let's do the minimum. Let's factor in the patient's weight because it says kilograms. So the patient is 39 pounds. I'm going to not solve for their weight right off the bat because, and what I'm saying is, if I take that 39 pounds and divide it by that 2.2 pounds and then multiply it by kilograms, or it could get a messy decimal, and we may round too soon. And it's important that we're careful with our rounding because we're wanting it to be safe for that patient. So I got the patient. I'm going to go ahead and put in my needed conversion so I can get it in kilograms. Okay, so now that's good. Now let's go back. We have a minimum of 20 milligrams per kilogram per day. And again, we want to milligrams per dose because we want to determine if this order is safe or not, right? Before we administer it. So I know that in one day, they're going to take 3 doses according to recommendations. And now I'm going to go ahead and say 20 times 39, right? Times 1, all divided by 2.2 divided by 3. So it gives me 118.2. And let's not round it like that. According to the textbook and instructions, when we're talking about the milligrams, we're going to round to the nearest. I'm double checking because I don't want to round nearest hundreds. Okay, so that means we're not going to put 0.2. So we're going to stick with the textbook. Just know how to round. Because if you know how to round, if they want you to round to the nearest tenths, you can do that. Okay. All right. And right here, I didn't mark through the units that reduce. If you want to do that, I will. So pounds reduce with pounds, kilograms with kilograms, day with day. If that helps you, I would do it. All right. So this is the minimum amount that'd be effective and helpful and safe. Now let's find the maximum recommended dosage. So I got a patient who weighs 39 pounds. And I'm going to put in the needed conversion. Okay, now let's do We have a maximum of 40 milligrams per kilogram per day. I'm gonna put in my needed conversion because we need to know the dosage. Okay. And now, and if you want to, it makes it easier for you, go ahead and mark it out, because if the units don't mark out right, then we know that, and they're not set up right at the end, then we know that we've set a conversion incorrectly. All right, so now that I'm able to mark all that out, I got 39 times that 40 times 1, all divided by 2.2 times 3. And I'm going to round to the nearest hundreds. That gives me 236.36 milligrams per dose. Okay, so that's the max amount. So when we read this, this is telling me for this patient, so if we was to do it based upon all of our body weight, every one of us would have a different amount that's safe for us because we all have different body weights. So this is telling me, and if it makes it easier to write this down, we're going to have a minimum amount recommended for this patient, a minimum amount of 118.18 milligrams to a maximum amount of 236.36 milligrams. This means in order for this drug to be effective, they need to take no less than 118.18 milligrams. And in order to be safe, they cannot take no more than 236.36 milligrams. So the order up here, we noticed when we looked at the order here, the order said it was 100 milligrams if I'm out 38 hours. So my order says that to take 100 milligrams per dose, right? So they're going to take this per dose. And we want to see if the order falls between the minimum. It can equal it, but it can't be less than it. Or it can be less than or equal to the max. So what is this saying? This is saying that if the order is less than the minimum, then if it's less than the minimum, then it's not safe because it's not effective. You know, someone goes into the hospital or a doctor and they give them antibiotics for an infection and they don't give them enough to fight the infection, then there's going to become another problem. It's not safe. Okay, so the drug itself is not helping them, it's not hurting them, it's not helping them, so it's not safe. The maximum amount, if the order is greater than the maximum amount, then it's not safe because they're taking too much medicine. Okay, so let's look at it. The order here is 100 milligrams. If you notice, the order is actually less than the minimum. So this order is not safe because it's not effective, not enough. So you're going to have to go talk to the person that wrote the order and do some research before you administer the drug. So you definitely want to go back to the person that prescribed the order to have clarification and to find out the best measures for this patient. Thank you.